She did whatever it took to survive. But the mountain man had one rule she was never meant to break. The mountains did not care who you were or what you had lost. They only cared whether you were strong enough to endure. Eliza learned that the hard way. By the time she reached the edge of the forest, her boots were soaked through, her breath shallow, and her hope thinner than the torn shawl clutched around her shoulders. She had once been a respectable widow in a mining town. Until grief, hunger, and debt stripped her of everything except the will to survive. People said cruel things when they thought desperation erased dignity. She had learned to let those words slide off her like melting snow. That night, when the wind howled louder than her thoughts, Eliza saw a cabin crouched between the pines, smoke curling from its chimney like a fragile promise of warmth. She knocked once. Then again. The door opened slowly. A tall man stood there, his face hardened by years of solitude, his eyes sharp but not unkind. He did not stare at her body or ask her price. He looked instead at her shaking hands. "You'll freeze if you stay out there," he said. That was all. The cabin was simple, clean, orderly, quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that made memories echo louder. "My name is Rowan," the mountain man said, setting a cup of hot tea in front of her. "You can stay the night. One condition." Eliza stiffened. She knew conditions. He pointed down a narrow hallway. At the end stood a door, darker than the others. "That room stays locked," he said evenly. "You don't ask about it. You don't touch it." Eliza nodded immediately. She had learned long ago that shelter came with rules. Some spoken. Some not. Rowan showed her a small cot near the fire. Then he took his coat and settled into a chair by the window, turning his back slightly, giving her space. No man had done that for her in a long time. Sleep came in fragments, but when morning arrived, Eliza was still alive, and still inside the cabin. Days passed. Eliza offered to leave, but Rowan waved it away. "Storm season," he said. "Mountains decide when you go." She helped where she could, cleaning, cooking, organizing shelves of dried herbs and tools. Rowan was a man of routines, quiet habits, and careful distance. He never touched her. Never hinted. Never asked why she had come. Yet the locked room haunted her. At night, she swore she heard sounds, soft echoes, like laughter remembered rather than real. Sometimes she dreamed of chalk dust and small hands pressing against a door. Once, she asked carefully, "Is someone else here?" Rowan's jaw tightened. No. She didn't push. Respect, she realized, was a kind of survival too. One evening, while a storm rattled the cabin walls, Eliza noticed something new beneath the doorframe of the locked room. A child's drawing. It must have slipped out. Paper yellowed with age, edges curled. A crude sketch of mountains, a cabin, and a smiling stick figure holding another smaller one. Her breath caught. When Rowan saw it, he froze. For a long moment, neither spoke. "That's why the door stays closed," he said finally, his voice low and steady but heavy with something unspoken. Eliza placed the drawing gently on the table. "You don't have to explain." "I do," he replied quietly. "Not to you. To myself." He unlocked the door for the first time since she had arrived. The room was not dark or frightening. It was a classroom. A small wooden desk. Shelves of handmade books. Faded alphabet letters painted on the wall. A pair of tiny boots near the corner. "I was raising my daughter up here," Rowan said. "Teaching her myself. Thought the world couldn't hurt her if it never reached us." His voice didn't break, but something in Eliza did. "She got sick," he continued. "Winter came early. The trail was blocked. By the time help arrived, there was nothing left to teach. Silence filled the room, not empty, but full. I locked the door because if I didn't, Rowan said, I'd stop living in the rest of the cabin. Eliza stepped back slowly, giving the space the respect it deserved. I'm sorry, she whispered. For your loss. He nodded once. That night, something shifted. Not romance. Not comfort. Understanding. Weeks later, the storm season eased. Eliza packed her few belongings before dawn. Rowan noticed. You don't have to go, he said. She met his gaze. I want to stay because I choose to, not because I'm hiding. He considered that. Then nodded. She stayed. Not as payment. Not as a replacement for loss. But as someone who knew what it meant to survive broken and still stand. Together, they cleaned the classroom, not to erase it, but to honor it. Rowan opened the door each morning now, letting light fall where memory lived. Eliza never tried to replace what had been lost. She simply helped make space for what remained. In the mountains, survival wasn't about strength alone. Sometimes, it was about knowing which doors to leave closed, and which ones to finally open.